community, to celebrate Halloween this month, we have a compilation of stories about a topic we haven't covered in Tales of the Night. The following accounts, although brief, were narrated mostly by teenage babysitters, as is common in the United States. With two exceptions, all of them occurred at night while they were alone in the house with the children they were looking after. My name is Uriel Reyes, and you're entering Tales of the Night. A few years ago, I was trying to put my friend's sister, whom I used to babysit, to bed. She was about 3 years old at the time and was resisting going to sleep. She asked me why she had to go to bed. I replied that it was because it was late, time for little girls to go to rest. She pointed to an empty corner of the room and said, "And that girl, why doesn't she have to go to sleep?" When I was young, I used to babysit my youngest nephew. He was 2.5 years old. On more than one occasion, he told me about a woman who visited him at night and sang to him. He only said that her name was Franny, that she had a red dress, and that she floated. 2 years ago, I was babysitting my niece, and we were looking at photos from my elementary school yearbook. When we were looking at a second grade group photo, she put her finger on a boy's face and exclaimed, "This one looks a lot like Nicholas." "Who's Nicholas?" I asked. While continuing to look at photos, without flinching, she replied, "He's the boy who comes out of my closet." The innocent wisdom of children goes beyond our understanding. My 4-year-old niece constantly tells me about her older sister. We often find her alone, supposedly talking to her. But she's an only child. She doesn't know, and there's no way she could know, that her mom lost the baby the first time she was pregnant, years before she was born. I was heading to the bathroom on the second floor of my aunt's old house when I saw my cousin April on the stairs. She was having fun making funny faces, and I asked her what game she was playing. "I'm making the faces that the lady with the braid makes." I looked around, but there was no one else. "Where is the lady, April?" "She's there," she replied, and pointed to a beam that ran parallel to the stairs at the height of the second floor ceiling. "And what is the lady doing?" "She's making funny faces," April answered me. I smiled and continued up the stairs when April said something that stopped me in my tracks and chilled my blood. "She has her braid around her neck." I turned and asked her to repeat what she had just said. "The lady is hanging from her braid. She's making funny faces." Then April began to make a face that I only then recognized. It was the face of someone struggling to breathe. Once I babysat for a family while the parents went out to see a movie. I put the youngest, about 4 years old, to bed and watched television until his parents came home. The next day the parents called me. According to the child, I stood in the doorway of his room and watched him for a long time, with a macabre smile on my face. I was so confused that I didn't know what to tell them. One night I was babysitting my friend's children. The youngest approached me and gave me a drawing he had made, with a woman hanging from the ceiling, and said, "She asked me to draw this. She's coming for you. You should hide." For a long time, I looked after my best friend's nephew, from when he was 3 years old until he was 7. Sadly, he died of a rare disease. He always told me about the goblins that visited him at night. At first, they were friendly, but then he began to fear them, as they told him he had to go with them. When he died, his parents put the house up for sale and moved out of town. My best friend's father is a contractor, and they worked on remodeling the house. My friend constantly helped his dad. They had been working on the house for a few days when he asked me to come with him. When I arrived, only my friend was there. He took me to his nephew's room. They had torn down a wall and found small passages between the walls that connected throughout the house, down to the basement, and kept going down. His dad said they were probably for rats, and they would have to work hard to repair the entire structure. My friend did know about what the child used to tell me. That's why he wanted to show it to me. We never told anyone else. A few months ago, I had to babysit 3 children because their grandmother had died, and the parents didn't want to or couldn't take them to the funeral. When I arrived at the house, a rather large and old house, in what used to be one of the rich areas of the city, the maid was waiting for me at the door outside the house, and before I could enter, she left without saying anything to me. As I entered the house, I heard them run up to the 2nd floor on some old, enormous stairs. I approached them, and the darkness was tremendous. I couldn't see where they ended. I didn't know the children, so I asked them to come down, please. I could almost feel them looking at me, and then I heard the footsteps of how they moved away from the stairs and into the darkness of the 2nd floor. The house gave me a rather unsettling feeling, so I started looking for a switch to turn on a light, or even a lamp, so I could go up. For the children, whom I could hear, walking right above me on the 2nd floor. I searched in the kitchen. I heard noises at one of the doors. Reflexively, I approached it. Under the door, I could see that there was a light inside that room, and then the shadows of someone walking inside. "Is anyone here?" "I'm looking for a lamp," I asked. No one answered. I slowly approached to open the door, and before I could touch it, someone opened it from inside. Creaking like in a horror movie, it opened little by little. There were the children, about 8, 6, and 3 years old. The oldest was hugging the little one, and the one who was about 6 had opened the door for me. I asked them to come out of there to find something to do, but they said they wouldn't come out until their parents returned, or to return to the light. They had the only candles in the house there. It was clear that they had cried a lot, and the little one wouldn't stop. "You're sad about your grandmother, right? Because they didn't let you go, say goodbye to her at her funeral." The oldest answered me, almost angrily, that it was the grandmother who asked that the children not attend and wait there while she was being buried. "Don't feel bad about your grandma," I told them. Again, somewhat annoyed, the oldest answered me, "We don't feel bad. We hardly ever saw her. My grandmother was a bad person." I didn't know what to say. I was confused. I saw that the 6-year-old child passed behind me to close the door at my back and lock it. "Why are you crying then?" "Try not to be sad." The child, who closed the door, took my hand and said to me, "We're not sad. We're scared. Grandma is up there.